So I've just been doing some walking at 4:50 a.m. It's now about, 20 past 5, so I've been walking for half an hour. I just wanted to share with you some of my new thoughts about poly. Well, the V-loops that we all have to endure in poly units have straight cornfield lines, basically, and it doesn't look real. It looks like doll's hair, in the same way that the squished dead ants of lace look like doll's hair. If you don't have bleached knots, then it looks like doll's hair. It's fake. It doesn't work. So what you gonna do? Well, I tried starting off with a blonde hairpiece, a poly hairpiece, and I tried to separate the roots and keep them blonde while dyeing the rest of the hairpiece brown. But I failed. I just couldn't find it easy enough to do. And it's not something that is worth the risk, because it's $200 a hairpiece, right? So you get a single drop of dye on the base, it stains it, and that's completely visible. That's worse than having doll's hair. Can't even have a brush forward look, really, because people can look down into your scalp, see predominantly beautifully blonde roots, but then this big splotch. So I can't see a good way, unless somebody figures out a good way to do that. I do recommend a base shield of some kind, or really, really careful brushing on of dye onto a blonde unit. Then there's the idea of taking a poly piece and just bleaching the front for about half an hour until it really lightens it up. Because right now the hairpiece that I've got on is 0.03mm poly from curvehairpiece.com. Just like all the other hairpieces in my life, they're not bleached at the front, and I've got cornfield lines here, but you can't really see it at the moment. So what you gonna do? Well, I don't know. The problem with lace is, even though it can be bleached, those knots can be bleached from underneath all the way across, it only lightens the knots. It doesn't get rid of them. You'll get more success in general by bleaching the underside of a brown lace piece. But then you've got the problem of lining up the front hairline against glue that shines like a motherfucker and bloats the moment you get out of a shower. Lace has all the properties that you would expect from something that should work, except for the fact that glue sucks, and it fails, and it peels, and it bloats in hot water. That's one amazing thing about all of these pieces. Water doesn't seem to really have an effect. Well, definitely doesn't have an effect on hold. I haven't really swum or had a shower for long enough in cold water to see any kind of negative effects of water in general on glue. So we can say that it's just hot water really that's the problem. Heat in general is the problem. Now, I just spoke to Gus on the new Discord channel. He says he doesn't even need to do a front hairline touch-up except once a week, which is pretty amazing, because he doesn't sweat much. If he does a lot of intensive workouts, he does it once every 5 days, but that's way less often than I need to do it. I need to do it once every 3.5 days. I still feel it's a good rule to give you. If we're gonna set a rule, give it a number. So, but he gets away with Ghost Bond. Ghost Bond is useless to me. I get sweaty and then it doesn't work at all. Then he uses tape on the sides and back. I've had no success with tape whatsoever. I wouldn't trust it. The moment it lifts at all, it gets exposed to air or it has dead skin cells on it, and it can't be reapplied. I mean, I don't understand why people use tape at all, except for the fact that you haven't got a proper system by which to see the back of your own head properly, so you just flop it back, right? So what can be done? On the one hand, we've got the shitty glue that hasn't been invented properly. It certainly doesn't work on people who are sweaty like me. On the other hand, you've also got the problem of hairpieces that have roots that are no good. They don't look real. Now, lace does look real on the first day. Poly looks real enough if it's medium density and the roots are disguised. But then there are those cornfield lines that are straight lines, really straight, parallel lines that come straight out from the front of the forehead. Definitely a massive failure if we're talking about low density or medium light density with poly, because that is clearly fake looking. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. One step that I have taken, the most recent experiment of course was the blonde hair pieces, so I could get exactly perfectly blonde roots, but then I couldn't dye it properly. The next experiment will be injection hairpiece. An injection hairpiece, I've ordered it, it's on its way. By the way, can you guys tell me what this is behind me? These 4 posts, 2 tall ones in the middle and 2 shorter ones on the outside. You know what this is? Can you identify this point post here, this goal post here? Yes, these are in fact the goal posts for Australian rules football. You kick a goal through the middle, 6 points. You get it through the outer ones for 1 point, or one behind as they call it. And if it goes out of bounds on the full, the other team gets a free kick from the boundary line. These fields are about 185 metres long by 135 metres wide in terms of their ovalness. Night matches and day matches are played throughout Australia. It's the main sport in Australia. It's weird when you go overseas and nobody's ever heard of it, because we get huge crowds, 100,000 people in our stadium. In fact, the biggest stadium in Australia is just down the road, the MCG, the Melbourne Cricket Ground. I know it's made for cricket, but it's a big deal for Australian rules football as well. Rugby in both its forms, rugby league and rugby union, are minor sports here in Melbourne. But in Sydney, rugby league is the main sport people go to watch. But I think Australian rules football is really massively increased in cities like Sydney and Adelaide and Perth and Brisbane. So, what am I going to do about this? At night, I can totally get away with having any hairpiece because it's nighttime, you can't see it properly, right? But in the day, or under the bright lights of my bathroom mirror, it stands out like a sore thumb and looks fake. So what do you think I should do? See, there are some people who respond in the comments of my videos when I'm fussing and trying to figure out the solution to these problems. And they state that it is just anal that I'm trying to fix these problems that don't really matter because nobody can really see or tell the difference. But I think those people probably need glasses. It's all about the front hairline. Now my hairline's kind of brushed back right now, and I like it that way. It's out of my face. It feels nicer. There's an air of good hygiene and good grooming. So I really would prefer to be able to have brush back look whenever I want. If it was sort of flopped forward all the time with this injection method, I think it wouldn't piss me off that much. So long as I can sort of fluff it a bit. I don't even know if you can fluff it a bit. It might just be forced forwards, you know what I mean? I'd be totally forced forwards. So lace is going to be the way to do it if you really want to get rid of those cornfield lines and be able to brush it back. But then you've got the glue problem, glue shining through. Medium density hides that problem to a large extent. You have a shower and it bubbles up and the glue is highly visible and you end up picking it and the whole thing just peels off, right? I mean, this is happening to me. I don't know if it's happening to all of you, because from what Goss says, he doesn't really need to do touch-ups very often. And he can get away with using Ghost Bond. Yeah, so I'm an extremely sweaty person, and I must actually have hyperhidrosis. I didn't think it was real. I thought I was exaggerating, but yeah, I guess I'm really a lot sweatier than most people. So it's a good thing I've been giving you this advice, because I'm at the more difficult end of the scale. So if I'm trying to find solutions that work for me, they should work for everyone, which is good. But probably overkill for some people who only just need Ghost Bond. Don't sweat that much and only need to change or clean up their hairline once every week. It's astounding to me. I've got heaps of lifting before a week is up. But don't you guys find that the poly hairline is so much easier? You just flip it back, you glue along there, and you push it forward, and then it's done. Even if you are wearing a full topper and you're placing it there first and then flopping it all back, so you're placing the front hairline first and then flopping the rest back, you're still doing front hairline maintenance, which means you have to lift that up, and if it's lace, you've got to pick all that glue out of that front netting really hard, and if it's been summertime, it's melted and gone through into the hairs and fucked your hairpiece completely. And not only that, just got to teleport around the block. Fuck, man, he's energetic. Anyway, and then at the end of that, you've got to really line that up. So how the hell are you supposed to get that in proper alignment? I don't even know how you do it. I mean, I do know how you do it. You can use the tape marking method, the tan marking method, or you can use a comb to put little dots on your forehead, or some pencil liner. But then if you get a bit of glue on that, it's stuck under the glue. So you've got pencil liner under the glue, and it's always there. It's like along the line of the front hairline. That's ridiculous. And with those dots, and you put glue inside those areas, it's hard enough to try to do that. You've really got to brush your hair back perfectly, and that you've got to do that without having glue supporting the hair as you're brushing it back. So how do you get that accurate anyway? There's always going to be some dribble of glue that's gone forward a couple of mils or back a couple of mils, so you've got lifting or glue exposed at the front hairline. No, it's got to be poly at the front hairline. I cannot go back to lace at the front hairline. It's a waste of time. It's way too much effort. So we really just have to fucking solve the cornfield line problem, and it has to be done with bleach, because blonde hair pieces are too hard to dye. Unless I practice maybe and get it perfect. I don't know how to do that. It's an exhausting process to try to get the poly hair, the blonde hair piece to be dyed a good color. It's just fucking hard, man. One splotch of dye, you pretty much got to chuck it in the sink and start rinsing immediately, and then you've got to start the whole thing again. And how much dye did the previous bit of hair get before you had to start again? I don't know, it could be worth it. Maybe I've just got to really, like people say, pin the damn hair piece to styrofoam head and just brush one section at a time. Wet the whole thing with water spray and then just brush on the paint. I don't want to have to do that, but it would be the ultimate solution. If this injection hairpiece doesn't work out, that's what I'm going to have to do. If you have a better solution, I think there are no other solutions. I think I've discussed it all. It's probably the only way to actually get it done. I feel fat just sitting here watching him. At least I've walked, I've burned some calories, but shit, running laps, that's way beyond what I'm really willing to do. Not that I didn't used to do it. I used to play Australian rules football and basketball and everything. Just can't be bothered anymore. You can probably tell. Anyway, I feel like I'm covering old ground here, but like, can you just please, in the comments, write what kind of hairpiece at the front you prefer, and potentially the hairline and the predominance if you have a hybrid, and what kind of glue you use and how often you do the front hairline touch-ups, because I'm lost. Also, how would you rate your front hairline out of 10? I'd give mine a 3 out of 10 at the moment. Like, I mean, if there was a camera, because I was in a film or a TV show or something, and they were filming my face, which is what cameras do, not just to the extent that I show you in my bathroom, but proper close-ups, right? It has to look real. It has to look real. And it has to be reliable. And also tell me, how long does your hairpiece last for? Have you gone for durability, or have you chosen something fragile like a 0.03 millimeter poly or a Swiss lace or something that is renowned to be not durable, and yet you make it durable because you want it to look as realistic as possible, but you really look after it? And also, under what circumstances do you experience shedding? Just give me a real good, just a checklist of what you're doing. Because just speaking to Gus on Discord, I'm getting a real sense that most of the things that I'm doing are just particular to me. And when we talk about body chemistry, everyone's different. They're not. There's just a simple range, a threshold on each end of, like, a piece of cardboard is not going to sweat. Glue and a hairpiece is going to stick that for ages, right? Unless it's out in the sun or something, right? But wintertime is obviously going to work better for everybody, I'm assuming, because heat does seem to be the enemy of glue. And sweatiness is the enemy of glue. Also, tell me if you're using a primer, and if you are, what is it? I just want to see people's lists, actual lists of what the specs. Tell me your specs. You know, maybe the first person who writes the list will lay it out nicely, and the rest of you can copy what's going on after that. So, yeah, try to get some sort of list going. I'm sorry I haven't got a list of dot points that I want you to fill out or something, but you guys would just ignore that anyway and write your own shit. It's like when I'm trying to make Discord categories, it doesn't matter what you write at the header. People are just going to discuss general topics, and it's going to go onto tangents and stuff. I'm not sure if Discord is the ultimate forum type software, but it's better than YouTube. At least now people can put pictures of their own hairlines and ask people about advice, and I'm learning from it straight away. Like, it's only been going for 2 days. It's been very helpful for me. All right, and join Discord if you haven't already joined it, because I think it's snowballing and people are starting to talk. It's good.